Welcome back to the Broto Fantasy Football Podcast presented by BrotoFantasy.com. I'm your host, Tim PETROP, with my brothers, the only two twins that give you double that fantasy goodness, Michael and Jason PETROP. Oh, when the Saints come marching in. Oh, when the Saints come marching in. Oh, Lord, I want every piece of that fantasy team when the heat wave goes over the Saints. That was smooth.
I'm pretty sure it's when the Saints go marching in, right?
Yeah, it's when the Saints go marching in.
You were saying
when
come.
the Saints come. It's come.
Nah, it's come.
It's go.
It's come.
No, it's come.
It's come.
The name of the song is...
And then it ends with go. But it's when the Saints come marching in. I want to be with that number. When the Saints come marching in. Yeah, it's never go.
Yeah.
Why would they be go? But you know what? Who's gonna be marching in?
Alvin Kamara into the end zone?
That's right. I got some Alvin Kamara bars for you. But let's first get it started with the offensive outlook. We're taking a look at the coaching staff and what kind of system is run and how it's going to have an effect on the offense. Listen, when it comes to the Saints, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael have been at the helm since 2009. 2009. It's a long time.
That is a long time.
How old are you guys in
my.
2009? You guys were like 11.
14.
What?
11.
Come on, man.
You guys are...
We were born in 95.
Oh. Whoops.
Math.
Let's go over to the quarterbacks. Drew Brees, historically better at home than on the road. For me, he's not worth a bench spot because I know he's going to have to platoon, and I'm going to have to draft him a little early as Jason gets comfortable over there. Jason, why don't you tell us about your comfortability with Drew Brees?
At this point, you know what he is in his career, and he's a guy that you can start at home. I don't want any part of Drew Brees on the road. If you look at his home road splits, they've been a concern for years now. Just last year, he threw 11 touchdowns in those 8 games. That's not something you want because he's not contributing anything with his legs, obviously. So I think Drew Brees is someone, if you have an extra bench spot that you're trying to have a quarterback, you can start him when he's home or when he has a good matchup, but he's not someone you're going to have in your lineup every week.
Home road true value splits. True throw value of .742 at home, which is elite. .433. Not so much on the road.
Nope.
Yeah, so, I mean, Drew Brees, it's historically evident, good on the road, bad at home in fantasy. This has been for the past few years. So that's how you're going to want to approach Drew Brees. On the other hand, Drew Brees' weapons are a whole different story. Michael Thomas in the wide receiver outlook is the $100 million man, always a top target on offense, led the league in red zone targets last season. Inconsistent, though, 7 games outside of wide receiver 2. Where do you think he ranks among the elites? I put him 5th. I would have Julio, Hopkins, OBJ, Devontae Adams. Not in that particular order, and Michael Thomas in that 5. Do you guys agree that he's top 5?
I have him at 7.
Okay, so no.
So the names you left out. Well, my order is Hopkins, Adams, OBJ, Tyreek Hill, Juju, and Julio.
I have Michael Thomas at 7 as well. I have...
He's definitely safer than people like Juju.
I have Nuke, Adams, Hill, Juju, OBJ, Julio, MT. Not anything against Michael Thomas as a player. He's a beast and a half. But yeah, there's going to be some inconsistent games just because of the way the Saints play.
So let's get down to it. You're going to have to spend an early second-round pick on him, are you?
If the other 6 wide receivers are gone and I want a receiver, then yeah, absolutely.
And you're comfortable going on, even though he's so volatile, you're comfortable going into the year with him as your number 1 receiver?
Yeah,
Look,
dude's a beast.
He's not that volatile where he's going to kill you.
He's not Amari Cooper.
7 games outside of wide receiver 2 last year. That's a lot of games.
I mean, yeah, I mentioned that at the end of last season. He had 6 games below 11 points. It's not what you'd like to see. But you know at the end of the year, Michael Thomas can have numbers that make him a top 10 wide receiver. It's a fact. It's not like they added any wide receivers. The only person, they just got Ted Ginn back.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Speaking of Ted Ginn, complete non-factor last season. I don't see a situation where I'm drafting Ted Ginn, but there is a situation where I'm drafting the other guy. Tre'Quan Smith is someone that is super interesting in terms of his true target value. If you don't know what true target value is, it is the stat that basically gives a value to a reception. So, a target, not just a reception. So if a person is getting 10 targets that game, you could expect them to get blank amount of points based on their true target value. Tre'Quan Smith last year at home, one of the better receivers you could have in fantasy. On the road, a complete bust. Jason. I'm gonna kick that to you.
I mean, you said basically everything I was going to say. The thing is, at home, it's because Drew Brees is good at home, and that's why true target value bounces off of true throw value. Michael mentioned Drew Brees' elite status when targeting receivers, and not even just receivers, when throwing the ball at home. So when Tre'Quan Smith is seeing 5 targets from Drew Brees at home, that's similar to throws from Patrick Mahomes. When he's seeing 5 targets on the road from Drew Brees, that's similar to targets from Andy Dalton. So that's a good way to look at it. Tre'Quan Smith, if he has legitimately taken that role over from Ted Ginn, can be a very helpful wide receiver 3 when the Saints are home.
We don't have an idea of that at the time of this taping. Please really go and do your homework on the Saints preseason and see who's getting the most snaps in the preseason.
Drew Brees' true throw value on the road, 0.431, as I said. Exactly the same as the total true throw value of Eli Manning.
Ooh.
Damn, Drew Brees is Eli Manning on the road.
I thought you were going to say Andy Dalton. I was like, man.
Yeah, right?
I
You
know
were
my
on
stuff.
that. Let's move
Eli
over.
Manning is even more anticlimactic because it's Eli.
Yeah.
Let's move over to the running backs now. And, guys, will you let me rant for a second? I'm just going to rant.
First of all, get it, dog? Alvin Kamara. I know what you're gonna want to rant about the other guy.
No, I'm going to want to rant about Alvin.
Oh, do you, boy?
Well, part of it is the other guy. Listen, Alvin Kamara, I'm here to tell you draft him number 1 in your league. Now, there's a lot of good running backs out there. But with Zeke and his contract situation being murky, I'm telling you right now at this point,
Zeke's going to play.
Allen, he is most likely to play. I still want Alvin Kamara. Here's why. When Alvin Kamara was by himself in that backfield, no Mark Ingram, running back 1 3 out of 4 weeks. Not running back 1 as in the top 12 running backs.
Overall.
The number 1 running back. And now they bring in Latavius Murray. Sure, he'll be spelled. But expect him to be on the field way less than Mark Ingram was. Mark Ingram for 3 straight seasons had 50-plus catches before last year. Last year in 12 games, because of the suspension, had 21 catches. Latavius Murray averages 22 catches a season in his career. His career high is 41 when he was the every down back with the Oakland Raiders, and he did everything. No receiving touchdowns in his entire career. I can't stress the point that Latavius Murray is not a receiving threat. 28% of the Saints' targets in the regular season went to the running back. That's second in the NFL, tied for that. Alvin Kamara got 70% of those looks. Only 70%. To put that in perspective, pass catching backs with their own backfield. CMC got 92% of the looks. Zeke got 85%. Gurley 84%. Saquon in his rookie year 81%. I would not be surprised at all. In fact, I expect, and that might be a little harsh, that Alvin Kamara is a 1,000 and 1,000 back this season. In fact, if he's not 1,000, he'll be 1,000 receiving before he's 1,000 rushing. For those of you that say Lat Murray will be the goal line back, Alvin Kamara was 4th in the NFL in rushes within the 5 last season, behind only Gurley, Barkley, and Connor. 2nd in rushes within the 10 and in the red zone. 13 red zone TDs for Alvin Kamara were 2nd behind Todd Gurley, tied for 2nd in TDs inside the 5 with 8, only behind Todd Gurley and James Conner. 2nd in the league in catches in the red zone, and 2nd in the league inside the 10. Now, these are overall numbers. Now, let's look at how much of his targets he got from his team.
Let's do it.
He only got 46% of the red zone rushes. That's 18th in the NFL, despite the fact that he was 2nd in red zone TDs. He only got 40% of his rushes within the 5. That's 26th in the NFL. Only 26% of the targets for his team in the red zone. That's 10th in the NFL. And get this, 17% of targets inside the 10 from his team went to him. That's 53rd in the National Football League. Despite that, he was 2nd in the league in catches inside the 10. Not surprising, the Saints, because of that efficiency, were the 2nd best red zone team in the league. He already sees less than half of his team's red zone work. So if your option and your logic is, hey, Lat Murray's going to come take the red zone work, you're bugging because he already gets less than half of the red zone work. On top of that, when it comes to 3rd and 4th and short, even more short yardage work, Alvin Kamara got a first down 17 to 21 attempts in his career. Do not give me this shit about how Alvin Kamara is not a goal line back, not a red zone back, not a red zone receiver, not a short line yardage back, because the numbers say no and just watching says no. Latavius Murray will be a good spell for Kamara and a handcuff, and that's it. Rant over.
Bars. That was almost as long as the Trubisky rant.
I mean, I feel when I feel passionate, I'm a passionate dude. Yeah, I'm a passionate dude.
I concur.
Yeah. Jason, you wanna I mean, for real though,
There are a lot of people drafting Latavius Murray excited about it, and it's just
No, it's not. They think he's gonna be Mark Ingram.
it's
so confusing to me.
that's people who did not watch and just look because
And one thing you didn't mention, we've seen this happen before when they signed AP. And AP was a one-dimensional back, and it just didn't work. And what ended up happening, they booted him out and gave Alvin Kamara more playing time. I feel like it's going to be the same thing. They're not going to utilize Murray as much as Ingram because there's not the threat of the passing game. The whole point of the Sean Payton offense is you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what the running back's going to do. If you have Murray in, you know they're either going to run the ball or not pass to the running back.
basically. Yeah.
I think that's the reason why Mark Ingram got so much work. And I think there's also, shout out to Jason Moore for this because he's the one that put this in my mind. When you have a situation where Mark Ingram was the highly productive, highly touted, highly drafted running back, and then they draft Kamara, who's a third round pick, he's coming in to Mark Ingram's role. Now it's Lat Murray trying to take over for Kamara. It's not the same situation.
Not at all. We agree that picking Latavius Murray where he's going right now is a joke.
And if if the reason why you're not taking Alvin Kamara is because you think that he's not going to get red zone and goal line work, then just get that out of your head, because even if he gets under half of his team's goal line work, like I just pointed out, he's still the most efficient running back in the end zone in the entire league.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be super shocked if Latavius Murray ended up being a top 30 running back, but expecting that makes no sense to me.
No.
If it does happen, all right. I don't see it happening at all.
Latavius Murray also got 40% of his team's rushes within the 5 and was obviously not nearly as effective as Alvin Kamara was.
He's not Alvin Kamara, that's why.
Let's move over to tight end. Look, like we said, Lat Murray's not a pass catcher, and I think that although it's easy to think that all the running back targets are going to go to Alvin Kamara, I think those vacated targets can be utilized by Jared Cook a little bit, because we've seen the Saints, when they didn't have that two-headed monster in the backfield, they had Jimmy Graham in the tight end position, and they utilized that tight end position. I think that Sean Payton is setting up a situation where he's going to utilize that tight end situation a little more this year.
You know, the Saints haven't had a tight end threat basically since Jimmy Graham. It's been a while. They haven't used Josh Hill. Dan Arnold showed a little bit last year, but it's not like
I was excited about Dan Arnold until this signing.
I just dropped my mic. And then he just wasn't even on the team the next not on the team. He wasn't on the roster for the game the next week after his big game. So that experiment was over fast. I don't see him coming near the 896 yards he had last season in Oakland. He was the de facto number one receiver based just off injuries, and he was lining up out wide all the time. I don't think he comes anywhere near that. The 6 touchdowns, however, I could certainly see that being matched, if not overtaken. 7 or 8 if he becomes a red zone target, because they don't really have a red zone target besides Michael Thomas,
who again led the league in red zone targets last year.
They do like to maybe throw a swing pass to Kamara or like a quick up and out to Kamara, but not like a legit middle of the field threat, which Jared Cook could step into. He is 32 years old, so he's getting up there in age. He is no longer the number one target for the team, so the ceiling isn't quite as high as some people might think it is, but he's a decent tight end option.
I don't love Jared Cook. Look, we've seen this happen before. He went to the Packers. Oh, Aaron Rodgers and Jared Cook, these are going to get the most out of him. At some point, a 32-year-old dude who's underperformed most of his life, except for when he was being force-fed targets, is just a 32-year-old dude who's not that good. And I genuinely think that's who Jared Cook is. I know he has the build for a better player.
That's true. Yeah.
Look, everything we say is about fantasy. All right. If Jared Cook's out there listening, you're in the NFL, bro.
Yeah,
you're a beast.
Just got paid.
But for fantasy, I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't work out. I have him as my 14th tight end. I don't want to own Jared Cook. I think he's going too high.
Interesting.
We keep talking about Drew Brees' home and road splits. He's going to need a touchdown in those 8 away games if he's going to be a startable asset. So I'm staying away from Jared Cook.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. One way that Jared Cook could become super valuable is if everyone on the team gets injured. But let's just talk about one injury. Which player on this team is one injury away?
For me, it's Tre'Quan Smith. If Michael Thomas gets hurt, which is unlikely, Michael Thomas hasn't shown that he deals with injuries often.
Great body.
But, yeah.
Great body. I don't care what that sounds like. He has a great body.
If he goes down and Tre'Quan Smith has to step into that role, that's a role you want.
I went with Keith Kirkwood. I think that Tre'Quan Smith has his role. And if anyone was
I don't know. Ted
replace
Ginn
him-
already has that role, though.
Well, that's the issue with those two. Who's going to run which role?
That's what I'm saying. If
But
Michael
I like
Thomas
Kirkwood.
goes down, then Smith could move to the outside.
I like Kirkwood as a guy who's going to get more different route options.
He had a couple nice games last season.
He did. He was an option sometimes. I just went ham on how Latavius Murray sucks. Latavius Murray is my one injury away because you just saw how involved Alvin Kamara is in this offense, even if it's not with carries. I mean, the dude only has 700 plus rushing yards last year, but he also had 800 receiving yards, and 14 touchdowns.
Low key, Buck Allen was gonna be an option of mine,
hurt
but he's already hurt.
Glorious.
Yeah, now he's probably gonna be cut.
Yeah, I have Buck Allen here as I have Latavius Murray / Buck Allen if he's not hurt / someone off the street who could catch the ball out of the
All right,
backfield.
what's more random? Javorius Allen being named Buck
Or
or
Quintorris Jones.
Jones being named Julio?
Definitely Julio.
I mean, you don't know. There's backstories behind these things.
No, because Buck.
Or John Smith becoming Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, word.
Yeah.
His real name is John Smith. The most regular name ever, and now he's Juju Smith. Well, his real name's John Smith-Schuster.
No, John Smith.
Nah,
He added
Smith-
Schuster
He added
later
the
in his
Schuster
life.
later in his
Yeah.
life, and his
Oh.
grandma called him Juju. So now he's Juju Smith-Schuster.
Well, you can get tidbits from that on Twitter and right here. You can find Michael at
Mike_Petrop. I was
What
thinking about
took so
Juju.
long?
Jason.
Jason Petrop.
You can get my Juju all
'Cause I
over
love me some
social
Juju.
media at Tim Petrop, but only if you're feeling real frisky. Don't forget that if you like what's going on, please donate to us at our Patreon, patreon.com/Broto Fantasy.
Not
Also,
necessarily a donation. They're getting stuff in
It's
return.
going back into the stewed.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but they're getting stuff and they're paying for services.
Yeah, I mean, we have a
true.
ton of extras in there for you. Check them out. Also, check us
your
out.
wordage, bro.
Also, check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram, Broto Fantasy on both of those.
Yep.
Check us out on Facebook, anywhere you want. Don't forget, for all that together, BrotoFantasy.com. We will see you tomorrow with the Summer Heat Wave.
Fantasy.com.